Hello, and welcome to the Flood. There are at least 500 legends of a worldwide deluge, and many of these show remarkable similarities, with many aspects similar to the details about the famous Noah's flood in the sacred scriptures. Now, a worldwide flood is found in almost every single culture, dating back the actual historical timeline as seen in the Genesis flood narrative, aka the Noachian Deluge. Now, to mention a few more here, there are the Mesopotamian flood stories, like the Sumerian Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest written tale on the plane. In it or on it, you can read that there is an account of an imminent flood. The Deucalion and the Parara in Greek mythology, the Pralaya in Indonesian, the Gunyu in Chinese mythology, the Bergelmir in Norse mythology, and in the lore of Ki and Maya peoples in Mesoamerica. The Lac-Corte Aurelius Objiwana tribe of Native Americans in North America, the Musica, the Canary Confederation in South America, and one of the more striking ancient flood accounts was discovered by anthropologists among a remote Aboriginal tribe in Western Australia before any such contact with missionaries had actually occurred. We're left with a few variant options. Perhaps all the peoples of these remote civilizations on our plane, with no such means of contact or internet Wi-Fi communication, all had the same but very different flood experiences, that by some mathematical chance again had all these features in common, on which they based their stories on. However, the more reasonable answer, the truth, friends, is that the legends say some as high as 2,000 accounts of a worldwide deluge, more than 277 of them written down. They all find their root meaning in the same historical worldwide flood experience that Genesis records, and that was written by intelligent biological entities, not Darwinian monkey ape men. According to a controversial study or theory proposed by two Columbian University scientists, there really was only one mother of all floods in the Black Sea region many thousands of years ago. They believe that the now salty Black Sea was once an isolated freshwater lake surrounded by farmland, until it was suddenly flooded by an enormous wall of water from the rising Mediterranean Sea. The force of the water was 200 times that of Niagara Falls, sweeping away everything in its path. Fish fossils, found and preserved, can only be explained by broad expanses of moving water. Experiments with fresh dead fish have shown that dead fish in water will disintegrate and their skeletons will fall apart in less than 1 week. The abundant remains of intact fossil fish skeletons indicate rapid burial sufficiently deep enough to prevent oxidation, bacterial decay, and breakage due to the feeding on by other animals. In Brazil, fish fossils are found with the skin, muscles, organs, etc. all preserved. The fish look like they have just been caught, but they are petrified and as hard as stone. They are abundant and distributed over several thousand square miles. The large plateau where these fossils are found is well above sea level and a good 500 miles from the Atlantic Ocean. Catastrophic conditions are required to create such an extensive assemblage of animals and plants so exquisitely preserved. Catastrophic events of this kind are not unique to the flood stories of the plain. Some contemporary examples, just to mention, the earthquake and subsequent tsunami that devastated Japan in 2011, The deadliest tsunami in history was Boxing Day 2004 tsunami that wiped out villages on the coasts of 11 countries surrounding the Indian Ocean. There was also Hurricane Katrina, described as the worst hurricane in United States history, as well as the Great Galveston Hurricane of 1900, and the worst natural disaster on record, apart from the worldwide flood obviously, is surprisingly a 1931 China flood, which took the lives of between 1 million and 4 million people. Now, to be fair, drought and floodings are the most deadliest natural phenomena on the plane today. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes might seem like the most dangerous natural hazards that you could ever face, but floods and droughts actually kill more. Now, we find fossils of sea creatures in rock layers that cover all of our continents. Fossilized shellfish are even found in the Himalayas, the world's tallest mountain ranges, reaching up to almost 30,000 feet, 29,000 to be exact, or 29 above sea level. Fossil ammonites are found in limestone beds in the Himalayas of Nepal. All geologists agree that ocean waters must have buried these marine fossils in the limestone beds. So how did these marine limestone beds get high up in the Himalayas? Well, there's only one right answer. We must remember that the rock layers, the strata in the Himalayas, and obviously other mountain ranges around the plain, were deposited during the flood, well before these mountains were formed. In fact, many of these mountain ranges were actually pushed up by the Earth's movement to their present high elevations at the actual end of the flood. The Grand Canyon was caused by the flood. There are huge whale skeletons that are still found in the driest, most desolate deserts on the plain. How do you think they got there? An image from Nampa, Idaho area was brought to the surface in a well drilling operation back in 1889. The stone doll came from the 300-foot level of a well boring. They'd penetrated first about 50 feet of soil, then about 15 feet of basalt, and afterwards passed through alternate beds of clay and quicksand down to a depth of about 300 feet. When the sand pump began to bring up numerous clay balls, some of them more than 2 inches in diameter, densely coated with iron oxide, it should be noted that the well log shows the image was found in a bed of sand and far below a 15-foot lava layer of the Columbian basalts. Now, these cover over 60,000 square miles of the northwestern United States to a thickness measured in miles, which suggests that they were laid down during the flood period. In this find, we have the evidence that a civilization actually existed before this catastrophe that covered the idol, confounding current geological and archaeological origins models, like the very famous fallacious, utterly nonsense spinning globe ball theory, but fully supports a spiritual biblical one. And it was Napoleon himself that said man will believe anything unless it's written in the Bible. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. For over 150 years, friends, artifacts and the remains of fully modern human beings have been discovered in rocks of the Earth. Yet when such items are found presented to authorities, the artifacts and or remains are immediately rejected or disappeared, covered up, out of hand, deemed invalid due to their wrong placement in the preconceived picture of BS evolution-based archaeology, geology and other related so-called helio-religious sciences. Real history, friends, is never taught to you, only controlled history. Any evidence found to the contrary is destroyed, ignored, tossed aside. Even human remains are found in coal. How incredible is this, as coal is considered quite old in the microevolutionary scale of things, and this could only happen because of a deluge that had over time crushed and squashed it all together to create oil and coal. Seashells and marine fossils can be found everywhere on the plain earth, or in layers of rock below granites or other igneous formations. We find extensive fossil graveyards and exquisitely preserved fossils. For example, billions of nautiloid fossils are found in a layer within the red wall limestone of the Grand Canyon. This layer was deposited catastrophically by a massive flow of sediment, mostly lime sand, the chalk and coal beds of Europe and the United States. The fish, insects and other fossils all around the world testify of catastrophic destruction and burial, which of course is only possible during or over the weeks during a worldwide flood catastrophe. Only within the strata of the earth are the trees that are found vertical. Through the levels of strata built up around it, the strata of sedimentary deposits, so rocks laid down by water, cake the earthland for about a mile underneath. It's teeming with all sorts of fossils and proof that there really was a universal deluge. If 99% of all fossils found are sea and marine life, seashells, clams, plants, etc., invertebrates, the remaining 1% is for the vertebrates the fish found, and all the fish fossilized eating other fish during a massive water catastrophe. The written accounts for a worldwide flood are webbed all over the World Wide Web for us to web over. Found almost in every mythology on the plain world today, 2,000 accounts of it, friends. It was very real, as the proof is all around us and under us. Consequently, all of this water does not stick to the rock. It's contained under it. And Noah, Noaa, is also part of the story, because it has to be, doesn't it? Noah's Ark was a massive ship that engineers and architects still marvel at today over its measurements and that sound structure, built at that Creator's command, our Maker, that saved Noah and all of his family, and 2 of every kind of land animal from the worldwide deluge that took place 4,350 or so years ago. And we also have the Ararat Arch to see. Thank you for your time with me today. I'll see you on the next one.